we would have a lot of classes in the studio and they would fill to like the minimum, but they weren't hitting their maximum, and there was never any wait list. And you saying to me, Meri, come on, there needs to be a wait list for all these classes with all the great things you're doing. And like, how can we make that happen? And it really, like, the things that we talked about really helped me. And now for the first time ever in 4 years, every single class is full and they all have wait lists.
What would the world look like if people felt like they mattered? Welcome to the Lead with Love podcast, exploring what it means to lead with love in business and life. I'm your host, Jada Selner, and in this show, I'll share meaningful conversations to help you, the creative, the entrepreneur, the world changer, reach more people, go after your dreams, and serve your community with love. I appreciate you joining me. Now, let's get cozy and start today's episode. How do you prepare yourself to step into a leadership role, make decisions from a place of abundance over fear, pause to celebrate your wins, spend time with your family, and rest? If sometimes you feel you can't see the forest through the trees when you're so in your business, then this episode is for you. Today, I'm bringing back Meri Cherry for a cozy conversation. She is the founder of Meri Cherry Art Studio in Los Angeles, California, which also provides mobile and in-house art parties for top celebrities and influencers. Meri is also the author of Play, Make, Create, a Process-Art Handbook. I have a copy inside my home. The book is beautiful. And Meri was on a previous Lead with Love episode, so I'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. And I'm really excited to deepen our conversation today. She has cultivated and engaged a loyal online community of over 35,000 Instagram followers, 50,000 Facebook fans, and she has a popular website and blog with over 100,000 monthly visits at mericherry.com. I've had the honor to personally work with and mentor Meri over the past 2 years inside the Love Over Metrics Incubator, which is an implementation program for women with big ambitions and even bigger hearts. And inside the incubator, we help entrepreneurs create a clear vision and a strategic plan so that you can take next steps for business growth to increase income, grow your community, grow that impact, and also freedom in your own life. And I only open up applications once a year. So if you're ready for guidance and support and to really take your business seriously, I have a very intimate community, and you can learn more and apply at loveovermetrics.com. That's LOVEOVERMETRICS. And once you apply, a Scale with Love specialist will book a call with you to help you get clear on your vision and what your next steps are. And spots will fill up quickly, so make sure you head over there. And I'm personally on a mission to help female founders build communities, build companies, build families, homes, just build and make work in art and serve in the world. And I really, really want to help female founders build companies that scale with love and serve the world without compromising their health and relationships in the process. Because we know we can't pour from an empty cup. And I truly believe that if you are building a business that is compromising your health and your relationships, that is not a sustainable business model. And that's why I'm so excited to dive into this conversation today, because Meri has been able to build a meaningful, profitable business with full wait list for her classrooms, which she'll talk more about in our conversation today. So let's get cozy with Meri Cherry. Hello, Meri.
Hi, Jada.
you're back, which I'm so excited about. I know we had our first conversation on this podcast as a Love Over Metrics spotlight, and I've had the honor of being behind the scenes and supporting you in your business and just watching you be such a badass in growing the Meri Cherry brand. And so I'm just excited. You know, when you watch, like, if you ever like Google a show that you used to watch of like, where are they now? So that's what I feel like is like, where is Meri Cherry now? And being able to just catch people up, you know, over a year after our first conversation that we had. And I've just been so excited to know you in this lifetime in the way that you show up in your work and being such a leader inside the process art community and just the joy and the love and the magic that you bring to the families that you serve. So I just want to let you know that I love you so much, and I just adore the way that you allow yourself to be that creative entrepreneur who is committed to serving, but also being fully expressed and taking care of your family in the process.
Wow. Thank you, Jada. I mean, if you could see my face, I'm just smiling so big, and I appreciate that. And you've been such a big part of this journey. So I'm so happy I get to be on your podcast now 2 times. It's so great. So great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And you know, one question that I didn't get to ask you last time that I would love to ask you this time is, what does leading with love mean to you? And how do you put love into practice inside your business?
Oh, I anticipated this question and I love it. And I've heard so many amazing answers from previous people who've been on your podcast. And thinking about it, to me, leading with love means doing my best to be the best leader that I can be. And for me, like, I really think of our team meetings, which we have each week. And I was a K-2 teacher for many years, and I had this amazing mentor. Her name is Eileen Horowitz, and she was the director of the school that I used to work at. And every week when we'd have our staff meeting, she would just lead with such integrity and poise and caring and thought, and it really made an impact on me. So every time I sit down for a staff meeting or any team building, anything, I just say to myself, like, how can I show up as my best self right now and lead with love, or lead from a place that feels really authentic and caring and loving? Because I think if we're really at our best, anybody, it's all about love and empathy and understanding. So I just try to use Eileen as an example. And when I sit with my team, let like those qualities come forward. And when I don't do that, I really try to own up to it and come better the next time. So that's how I resonate with leading with love.
I love that. What does your team look like today?
We are 8 people strong, including myself, and that 5 full-time staff members, let's see if my math, 4 part-time, somewhere in that, or 5 part-time or almost full-time. And it's a manager with different teachers and a lot of help for the weekend, and because we do a lot of birthday parties and different things that require a lot of extra hands.
What was your first hire?
My first hire, which was also my easiest. I always say that my first 2 hires were my easiest, I think, just out of luck and naivete. My first one, I was teaching mobile art classes at different people's homes all over Los Angeles, where I go with my tub of supplies and teach an art class at, let's say, Susie's house on Mondays to Susie and all of her friends. On Tuesdays, I'd go to Johnny's house and so on. And the classes just kept growing and growing from word of mouth. And so my daughters were in preschool at the time, and one of them had this amazing teacher. Her name is Olivia. And I used to observe Olivia with the kids. And when I felt like I really needed help to teach more classes in the afternoon, we had this wait list, and how do I provide my service for all these people, I asked Olivia if she was interested in learning how to do mobile classes, and thankfully she said yes. And she's been working with Meri Cherry for now going on 5 years.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much. And I'm curious because my husband, he has his own music program, One Heart Music, where he teaches, early childhood education music to the 5 and under crowd. I call him Walnut Creek famous because like everybody in our neighborhood knows who he is. But I'm always like, we could grow and scale this business and you could train teachers and all of these different things. And he loves teaching and he loves being in the classroom. He feels like creating like a church type of experience and feeling. And so he's not willing to like let go or have someone else teach. So I'm just curious for you, did you have any fears or hesitation in bringing someone on board, or was it in a state of like, I need this, like I can't do this anymore? I'm just curious like what that experience was like.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of growth and this possibility that something really fun can become bigger and like, where can this go? So I was so kind of amazed at first that my classes were growing. And then when I met Olivia and saw how capable she was, and I can teach her the kinds of curriculum I was doing and the language I was using with the kids and what made the classes so special. And I really trusted that she could provide that as well. It just sort of kept this dream state going of like, oh my gosh, this could be something different than what I ever thought it could be. And that is intoxicating to me. I love that idea. So for me, it wasn't like, no, I just want to keep this. It has to be me all the time. I was like, let's try this out and see what happens from here.
I love that. And was there anything now that you've stepped more into the leadership role and having, 7 other people on your team, what's been the most challenging about that growth and having to lead a team?
Oh, there's so many challenging things that have happened over the past few years. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm really getting now is how important training is. Whereas, like with Olivia, we were on the same page, early on, and it was like a really great relationship, and I can trust her to do what I was doing in her own style, but it had that sort of Meri Cherry feel to it. And now that we're bigger and I'm going through the interview process and finding people through different places like Indeed, and it's much more, professional, I guess, in terms of hiring. Like now I realize that I can't just expect these people to come in and know what I want them to do from day one, just because maybe they have their own teaching experience or they seem really delightful, which they are. There's still so much training that goes into what we're doing, because Meri Cherry and what we do at the studio is such a specific experience. And now I'm finally realizing, we have to train everybody. And so we're incorporating now all these systems to make training more of just that, a system, as opposed to just hoping they get it on the first few tries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know you mentioned experience, and I do believe that you make a very beautiful experience, whether people are experiencing that from you online or in your art studio. What do you feel most proud of as far as that like Meri Cherry magic that you bring into your art studio for your families?
Well, I think just recently I hosted a Process-Art live workshop and studio masterclass in our studio for women all over the country. And someone even came from Canada, and it was a group of about 40 women. And we talked a lot about what I think good teaching looks like, why I think Meri Cherry is such a special place, what makes us so special, what makes us stand out. And it definitely is that experience. And it was so nice to hear from the women coming in that, they see different things on Instagram and different, social media platforms and my blog that I share online. But until you're there in the space, really experiencing it, it's so much like it's so much more magical. And I really liked knowing that, like, from the minute you enter the door, you're getting this wonderful greeting. We know your name. We want to make you feel special. We want to show you really high quality process art. Just feels really thoughtful. And that hearing that feedback from people I trust and admire, that it is so thoughtful, really, I feel really proud of.
And I remember when you were working on the sales page, the invitation page for that workshop. Is this something, can you explain a little bit about what that masterclass was?
Yeah, so in the morning we had the Process-Art workshop, which is a workshop about process art and setting up invitations to create and really teaching about process art to educators, parents, teachers. And process art, for anyone who's not familiar, is art that's all about the making and the doing rather than the finished product. And after that, we provided a new class, which was Studio Master Class, which was more about how to take your art teaching journey, your entrepreneurial art teaching journey to the next level, whether it's teaching classes in your backyard or in your garage, to traveling classes, to owning your own art studio, and what that could look like based on our experience.
That's so cool. And with, one of the things that happened in our last year in Love Over Metrics Incubator was you actually moved into a bigger space, and like it was just a year of expansion for you, literally and figuratively. And yeah. I would love for you to just share about that, because, I was actually reading your application from like July 2017. And like one of the challenges though was like parking. And I remember you just like talking about that, and your team wanting a bigger space. Like you just had a beautiful intention of why you wanted to expand. But I would love for you to tell the story of how you moved from the original brick and mortar, space that you were in for Meri Cherry to what you're in today, and just take us on that journey for a moment when you were questioning that shift to expand into more square footage, more monthly revenue commitment to pay the lease, and all of those pieces.
Yeah, you've seen so many freakouts and different transitions. Well, we had this great space that we were in for 3 years in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, referred to as the Valley. And it was about 11 to 1,200 square feet. And it was the first place we ever opened. And it was great and wonderful, with the exception of one big problem, which was we only had 3 parking spots, and it became a huge problem really quickly. And, as a first time brick and mortar owner, I was so green. I had no idea what different challenges would be the real challenges, and parking really caught us off guard. And we have birthday parties all weekend long. So you can imagine how 3 parking spots is not going to be a match for a party with 20 guests. So it created a lot of friction with our neighbors and with our customers, and it was just really challenging. And I always say, if we could do that, be as successful as we were with that kind of parking, then like sky's the limit for the next place. So I knew early on that we wanted to move when my lease was out, which was a 3-year lease. And we started looking, right a few months prior, and we found this beautiful, amazing space that I know probably you remember, Judd. I was thinking it was this space. I was thinking it was that space, and different, I was so scared to make the wrong decision about what the space was. And finally, after seeing a few different spaces and thinking this other one was the one, and I was so scared to sign the lease, but I went into the physical space that we do have now, and I asked my husband to leave and the broker to leave and to just let me stand in the space by myself. And I just closed my eyes and said, please, universe, give me a message. Tell me if this is the right decision. And immediately it was like, don't you know that you did this out of your garage and it worked beautifully? It's not about the space, it's about what you bring to it. And it was such a comfort And right in that moment, I said, okay, we can sign the lease. Like, this is going to happen. And it turned out that this new space is a million times better in parking, but it's a million times better in so many ways. And we doubled in size. The neighborhood is just really nice. And we're right on Ventura Boulevard. So we're really visible now. And it just feels like we made such a good choice. And the community has just really gathered around us to support this opening, which was 4 months ago.
Yeah. And you have a really, really cool mural on your wall that's totally Instagrammable, hashtag, like all of that, which is so cool. You know what I love is you talking about that fear of making the wrong choice. That's actually something my own inner mean girl says to me. My friend Amy Ehlers talks about your inner mean girl and like what she's saying. And it's, you're doing it wrong, you know, and I get so triggered if I think like, if someone gives me feedback, I'm like, I did it wrong. And so I just love that you share that fear was there as you were looking for that next space. I also want you to talk about how there was another space, you know, in our personal calls that we had in our coaching calls where you were like, this is the one, and you wanted everyone on board for this. It was, you know, I would love for you to just share a little bit about that, because sometimes we can get really attached, like it has to be this way or this path. And then what you did to kind of release that attachment to allow the dreamy place to show up for you.
Yeah. Oh, I totally remember that other space and saying to you on our calls, like, no, this is the space. I know it's the space. And it was huge and the highest ceilings you could imagine. And when I'd walk in, I just knew like this was the vibe I wanted to create. The only trouble was it was so out of our budget. It was just like not even close. And the landlord wasn't negotiating at all. And I just couldn't understand that, because I'm such a manifester. When I like really set my mind to something, I know it's going to happen. And I was just like, what's happening here? Because I know this is the space, but I can't pay that amount of rent, and something's got to give. And thankfully you and I talked, and it was more from, you helped me see like it was the approach of this or something better, and that this might be the space and it might not be. And if it's not, then something else is waiting around the corner. And I don't know if it was just an energy shift or just believing you or what, but I was able to open up. And that's when I said, you know what, we have visited this other place a few times. Let me go check it out again. And it just started to open up in terms of like, maybe it is something different. And it ended up like being so much better. Like you said, we were able to paint the whole building, which was, we couldn't have done that at all at the other space. And the parking is terrible at the other space. So we got so much more than we even hoped for. So yes to this or something better, from the words of Jada Selner.
And it's not my original words. I can't remember where I heard, but it's like in that world of
yes,
and receiving. But I love that message really resonated with you. One thing that I love is your partnership with your husband, Ev. And I love that you say, like, when I got married, I not only got a husband, but a whole brand, because Cherry is your real married name, and you've built a whole brand and art studio around Meri Cherry. And you also said, you know, my husband, Evan, is my biggest cheerleader and greatest support. He's on board in every way. And if he's ever not, we communicate with great respect and get on the same page. And I would love for you to just talk about, you know, what that dynamic has been like in having your husband support you in your business. And if there's ever been times when he wasn't on the same page, like how do you get him? How do you guys get on the same page? Because I think this is a typical, you know, challenge for many people, whether their partner is supporting them in their business and actually, you know, doing certain responsibilities and tasks, or even just supporting in, you know, helping with the kids, or just like moving you forward to like, yes, it's cool to like move forward with this. And I know you talked a little bit about even when you went from your mobile studio, mobile classes to an actual physical studio. And I'll link to the show notes at strataselner.com/124, where you can hear that conversation. But I would love for you to just share that dynamic of having your partner in supporting you with your business and your brand.
Yeah. I mean, I love to talk about Ev. He is my rock and my partner in all aspects. And fortunately, he went to business school and he's very business-minded, entrepreneurial-minded, strategic. So he is a huge help to me in really every way and sort of helps guide next steps and definitely supports me in all the challenging situations. And what's great about him is I'm so like, well, we're both big picture, but I could also be like a lot of personality, a lot of, opinions and big ideas and go, and all that kind of stuff. And Ev is like really grounded and really thoughtful and very strategic. So he's such a good balance to when I said to him for years, like when I was teaching mobile classes out of my house and going to people's homes, I did that for 3 years. And the reason I did that for 3 years, because the whole time I kept saying to Ev, like, I think this is a thing. We should open an art studio. This really is a thing. Like, people want this. And he would always say, what's the rush? Slow down. Why do you want that overhead? You don't even know what this is yet. Let's see what this is. And so he's always that like really reasonable, realistic, slower-minded person. Having said that, like you were saying, sometimes how does it work if we don't agree? Like Ev wants to grow and franchise. He's always wanted to franchise this business. And I've often been like, no, I want to own all of them if we do that. And, no one can do it like I can, and nobody is going to understand aesthetically what it needs to look like. And I get all my like worst fears come up about what like the space could look like if I'm not in charge of it or my team. And so we've had to navigate those conversations. And now that we're a little more seasoned, I mean, we're still just 4 years, but those conversations are definitely a part of maybe not our everyday, but our weekly conversation. And so we're learning a lot from each other, and he's helping me see like different possibilities and that it doesn't necessarily have to be the way I think it needs to be. And maybe it doesn't have to be exactly how he thinks it should be. So we've gotten really good over the years with our dance of communicating and doing projects together and all the different things that come up when you have a business like this.
Yeah, it really does. It does become an all-consuming family affair, which is amazing that you can have that. When you first came in my world, I remember you were really proud of yourself. You're like, we broke even, the first month, we made some income the second month. And I want to talk about numbers and metrics, because even though I have like the Love Over Metrics Incubator, it's really about putting people first and leading with love. It's not like no metrics. We just want meaning behind those metrics goals. And I know that you're a numbers girl and you're super inspired by when you have like a number to hit, whether it's in book sales or summer camp enrollment and different things like that. But I remember you were feeling stressed about your summer income, and you're like, it's slower in the summer, and you wanted to double your income from like 16K to 30K a month in gross sales. And can you tell me about what your number journey has been around the revenue since our time in working together?
Yeah, well, it's definitely true. I am someone who likes goals, especially financial goals. Like when my eye is on the prize, that's where I'm putting all my energy. And so I remember we had spoken about the summer and what that could look like and wanting to fill summer camps. I mean, it seems like such an older chapter now, because now I know like camp and the summer is like this huge revenue stream for us. And we've met all those goals and surpassed them in terms of monthly gross income. And yeah, I'm not sure what else I can say about that, except that we're constantly striving. Okay, so I remember you saying to me a few months prior, like, how are your classes? Are they full to capacity? Like, what do those look like? And at the time, we would have a lot of classes in the studio, and they would fill to like the minimum, but they weren't hitting their maximum, and there was never any wait list. And you saying to me, Meri, come on, there needs to be a wait list for all these classes with all the great things you're doing. And like, how can we make that happen? And it really, like, the things that we talked about really helped me. And now for the first time ever in 4 years, every single class is full and they all have wait lists. So that's like been a huge change that obviously has affected our revenue.
That is amazing. I'm like just like grinning from ear to ear because I remember, you were like, I need to sell a digital product. Like it was like you were putting your energy towards that. And I was like, there's an opportunity right here in the physical space that you have. Those classes weren't full. And now you have a repeatable system and being able to fill those classes, which ultimately means you're able to serve more families and bring that joy and connection of art and making moms feel like a Pinterest mom without having to do all the Pinterest moms up in their own house. So like, what does that mean for you in your business, in your life as a leader to be able to have a full studio?
Well, it's super exciting. Like our manager, Erin, who has been with us since like we were open for 1 month. She was my second hire and the easiest one. The two first ones I was saying were the easiest. And Erin and I just look at each other and say, like, how did we get here? This is so amazing. This is so different. So what's extra exciting about it is whatever we decide to do next, whether it's open a second studio on the West Side or franchise or whatever it is, like we're moving towards that. We're enabling ourselves to make the best decision for the studio and for the people that we serve, because things are going so incredibly well and we're so grateful. And now like we get to make decisions from that place of abundance rather than, fear or scarcity, or it's just like, okay, this is great. People want this. It's going so great. How do we want to be even better? How do we want to show up next?
Yeah. And I'm curious, since we had the opportunity to work together for 2 years, what was different about how we worked together compared to other experiences that you've had in growing?
Yeah, well, there's so many different styles of leaders and business coaches and life coaches. And I knew I wanted to get a business coach from day one. I wasn't ready that first year. My husband always said, like, after 1 year, when we see where we're at, and if, it feels affordable, you can get a business coach. And so right before we were at year one, I started looking around and asking friends, and we watched what is the name of your...
The World Domination.
Yes, the World Domination talk. And at the end, both Ev and I stood up and gave you a round of applause. And in that moment, I knew, like, this is the right person for me from an energy kind of place. And we just seem to speak the same language. And I love that what you offer hits, it's mental, it's some emotional, there's some spiritual thrown in there. It's all the different things. And we can talk about the concrete things of business, which obviously we need to talk about, but then it's also grounded and rooted, ironically, in your dreams. So it's like, how do you go, how can you look at that big picture and then make it your reality? And that really resonated with me. And I've worked with some other people, and it's just, it's not good or bad. It's just different style. Maybe it's more, I don't even know how to describe it. I just know that working with you really suited my personality and sort of the balance of dreaming big and being in the here and now in what we have to deal with and handle as a business owner. I really appreciate the balance that you bring to that.
Thank you. One thing that I'm super excited about was how you had a goal of wanting to write a book in year 2 of working together. And now you have a book, a published book, Play, Make, Create a Process-Art Handbook with over 40 art invitations for kids. And it's so beautiful. I just love the texture of it. I have it inside my home. And I'm just curious, what was challenging as well as exciting about putting this first book together, something that's physical and tangible that people can hold? I would just love for you to share.
Yeah, well, you're a published author, so you know it's quite a journey to write a book. For me, it was, the timing felt right. Finally, I'd been approached to write books before, and I wrote this book with Quarto Publishing, and they just they seemed to be a fit on letting me write what I knew about, what was in my wheelhouse, and it could really come from my voice. And I love that, so I decided to do it. And I was committed to making it an experience that felt light and easy breezy and just like this really positive experience, because I had heard so many friends prior talking about how miserable they were writing their book. And I started off from that intention, and then after the first deadline and then the second, it just was so challenging. And then finally, when it was, everything was in and it went to the printer, for me, that was the most challenging part, because it was out of my hands and out of my control. And I went into such a panic and downward spiral of anxiety, the really real terrible kind of anxiety that stayed with me for a few weeks actually. And I really had to lean in on my family to help me through that. I just got myself in a whole headspace that it wasn't good enough and the projects weren't right. And it just it brought up all my worst fears. And that was when I really had to lean in on my husband. And he kept saying to me, I don't understand. You've been blogging for 10 years. What's different? You've, shared so much online. What is the difference? And for me, it was well, if it's in a blog post, I can go and edit it if I said something wrong or foolish or something like that. And this is so permanent and it's out there in the world for everybody to judge. And I just imagined everyone judging it in the worst possible way. And so I really had to lean into my own support system. And thankfully, with the help of friends and family and my husband, I came out of it. And now the book is here. And I think it came out in early June. And now it's received so much positivity and so many great reviews. And I love it. And I look at it and I read it and I think, oh my God, this is incredible. So it ended up being a fantastic journey, and I'd love to write a second book, but getting there was definitely challenging.
Yeah. And I remember talking to you about this too, because I have the same anxious energy that comes up around more permanent bodies of work of, oh, it's a TEDx talk. Oh, it's something that's the world is going to have access to, and I can't edit it or change it or delete it or take it down or take it away. So I completely relate to that experience. And it's part of our edge and our growth, because we have such a strong desire to share our message with the world and make a contribution for the highest good. And so you want to help as many people as possible, but there's a little bit of the underbelly of putting your work out in the world, that you're going to feel this resistance and fear. And I remember also having you pause to celebrate your wins along the smaller milestones in your book. Because do you remember that you were I'm not celebrating until this book is in bookstores? Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And because it's until it's really in your hand, it feels what are you celebrating? But it was so true that in all the things that we do, it's so important to take a minute to look around and acknowledge all the great things that have already happened before these big milestones come.
Yeah. And one thing that you shared was, in the second year of being inside Love Over Metrics, that you had goals and that you accomplished all of them. So I'd love for you to just share, what were some of those goals that you had, and just being able to celebrate some of those wins out loud, as we say.
Oh, well, let's see. I know one of my big goals was to earn enough money to take my whole family to Paris and, go on this great vacation together. And we were able to do that last summer. And we've talked about it. Ironically, it was like this disaster trip from beginning to end, but the memories are amazing now that it's over. I was so proud of that and still am, like that I can participate now in our family dynamic financially in a different way than I ever was before. I was a K-2 teacher, and it was just a different, income level, and it always had a cap on it. And now it's different and things have changed. And when we have bills and we want to go on vacations or the air conditioning breaks or whatever it is, I get to participate. So for me, that feels like a really big win, and I'm super proud of that. And some other things, some wins, like you said, I wrote the book, and I think, in terms of the studio, we just celebrated a summer where we had 12 weeks of sold out camp, and that we sold out, I think it was in March of last year. So, well, not last year, but March of last school year. So that was a huge win that we were all booked up before summer ever started. And that feels really amazing.
What a huge shift, Meri, right? To go from where you came and were like, I'm stressed about summer income, to selling out your camps like 3 months in advance. That's amazing.
Yeah. Big difference.
Who was the woman that you had to be in order to create these wins inside your business and your life?
Well, I had to be really strong and brave and motivated and keep fighting the fight and really delegate and trust my team and surround myself with amazing people, which I'm so blessed to have done. And just, I think, like, getting back to what you were saying about how do you lead with love, like, I'm just trying to be the best me I can be. And so I think that's helping to keep me in check, because I really care about doing my best and being my best. And I feel so blessed to have this opportunity to reach so many people in our local community and then through social media throughout the world. And I'm really just so grateful to be in this position. And I just want to do my best. And so that's the person I have to be.
I love it. And something that I love about you, because you are an artist at heart, you're also an entrepreneur at heart, but I know there's some exercises that you follow from the book, The Artist Way. And I'm just curious, when I talk about the 5 S's, there's share, sell, serve, systemize, and sustain. And being a leader of a growing team, of a growing business with big visions, big ideas, big goals, what do you do to sustain yourself while you're growing a business and raising a family?
Oh, such a good question, because I need to say this stuff out loud to remind myself to get back into some practices. And one is I am a huge advocate of writing morning pages, which is a practice from The Artist Way, where you wake up every morning and you write 3 pages of like free-form consciousness writing, where you don't think about it, you don't move your pen away from the paper, and you just go. And I've done that probably 15 years or so. And sometimes I go through periods where I stop for a few weeks, and I've been in that now, and I definitely want to get back into it. So that is an important part of sustaining and exercise and vitamins and getting massages and, doing fun things with my family. Now that summer has ended and like the buzz and the nonstopness of running such a big camp program, I can rest a little bit and sort of get back into the routines of self-care that I've been missing.
And can you tell me a little bit about the artist date, or it's like a date with yourself, right? Like there's something that
Oh, yeah.
I'm like always inspired when I hear it.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Well, an artist date, and they start encouraging you in The Artist Way I think it's like the second or third chapter, where you go on a date with yourself. I think it starts off at like, just go for an hour, and it can be only with you. And it's just something that you truly enjoy doing. So it could be like a walk on the beach, to hanging out in a bookstore, to, taking a yoga class, whatever it is, but it's just for you. You don't do it with a friend or anything. And then over time, they ask that you do it for like a whole day. And I've practiced that many times over the years, and artist dates can be the most enriching, invigorating, like replenishing days. So maybe it's time for an artist date too.
Yeah. What would you say, like, could you describe what you did for one of your artist dates that brought you a lot of joy?
Yeah. I went for the day to Abbot Kinney once, which is a area in Venice here in Southern California. And I just like walked around all the stores, walked to the beach, treated myself to some new boots, got some great coffee, and just like spent the day off my phone and just doing things that, just going to another part of town that I don't get to visit very often, and just sort of roaming the streets as if I was in a new country. It was just so delightful and different, and it felt really good. And walking on the beach, of course, is always so nice. So it was like the perfect day.
I love that. And I love that you used your own backyard of exploring as if you were in a different country. George, Zoe, and I, we've lived in Northern California, and we've never gone to Alcatraz in San Francisco. And so I finally, my husband's birthday, we always go into San Francisco. We're like, The Rock, it's right there. But if you can't do it last minute, you have to like schedule and book in advance. I finally bought tickets, coordinated with family, friends to get it on the calendar. And it was so much fun. I felt like a tourist, going on that tour, and then getting clam chowder for lunch, and then going to the penny arcade, and but I think it's such an inspiring act of self-love to take yourself on that artist date, to nourish yourself, to sustain, refill, re-energize, reset, and then have that extra inspiration and creativity to do your work, your art in the world.
Yeah, and I think also part of the magic of it is making it a scheduled priority. So putting it on the calendar, like how you had to plan it in advance, that's the idea. Make an appointment with yourself and show up for it.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think for us who are big idea people and big dreamers, and we can get consumed in our work because we love it so much, that we do have to schedule in the sustain moments, our connection points with our family and our loved ones and ourselves. That's the piece that actually has to get on the calendar, and allowing our work to overflow around those pieces that we say are priorities in life.
Yeah, it's so true. Schedule dates with our children. They're always so great.
Yeah, I actually interviewed Jem Shields. He talked about having board meetings where you basically have a quarterly date with your child, the way that you would have a quarter, like how we've done our quarterly planning inside Love Over Metrics, that you would have a minimum of 4 hours to connect with your child unplugged, and that they choose how you spend those hours, and they can get longer over time. But I think that's super powerful. What would you say? Yeah. I know you have 2 daughters. Is there a connection, ritual, rhythm, habit that you have in place to be present with your daughters?
Well, it's just what we were talking about. My girls, they're 16 months apart. So in a lot of ways, they're like twins, and they're always together. And we've always done their lives together for many years. And now that my youngest is about to turn 7 and my oldest is 8, they really crave that one-on-one time with me. So it's the special thing for us is when I make a date with each one of them. So with my older one, it's paella nights at a local restaurant that they offer a few months out of the year, and we do those, or just different things that my girls just feel like it's just with mom. I have her undivided attention. My phone is gone, and it always reconnects us, and it's such an important part of our family dynamic, because I can be so distracted and excited about work and wanting to talk about those things. And on those dates, it's I just sit and listen to them about all the things in their lives.
I love that so much. And I love that the paella nights because sometimes I'm like, we need to come up with something new every week or every month. And it's like, or we could just have like a set place that we go back to over and over again. So that sounds like I'm getting inspiration from that.
Well, the ironic part is I don't even think my daughter likes paella. she just likes going with me, and it's like our thing. And she says to me, I don't really like paella, but let's just go.
Oh, I love it. And, something that I share often, and I know this, is like saying your dreams out loud, and not only just out loud to yourself or being able to write them on paper, but there is such power about just how we share our lives, with our loved ones, being able to share our business journey and not being alone and just getting that inspiration for others. I'm curious what your experience has been, inside Love Over Metrics and being able to have that community and support of other like-minded women. Like, what did you find most valuable from that?
Oh, wow. I mean, my experience with Love Over Metrics has been so powerful. I have formed so many amazing relationships, not just with you, but with the women that were in the group. And we still talk weekly. And my photographer has come from the group. Someone who helps me with human resources, somebody who's helped create lead pages and email funnels. So there's been so many connections for the business, but really connections of the heart, of such close, caring friendships that I'm sure I'll take with me for the rest of my life. That part has been so meaningful. I love to be part of a group, and the women that you attract have been, just really rich, amazing, thoughtful women, and that they've really made my life so much richer from knowing them.
Yeah. And I remember in year 2, we were actually exploring you doing just my one-on-one program. And we actually shifted you back into Love Over Metrics. Yeah. Where's the community? I need the extra love and accountability. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit about that because we need that one-on-one feedback and support, but just that value of community. What did you see in that for you? What was the benefit of not just having, one-on-one strategic support, but also having a community to hold you to?
Yeah, well, I just love the structure of the group and how the different processes that are in place through the Facebook group to hold us accountable and share, important things that we're working on throughout the month and our quarterly planning, and sharing that out loud with the group and hearing what other people are doing and offering feedback. And it's just, for me, it's just been such a great experience. And I think at that point of my business and where I was at last year, I really needed to feel not on an island, and I wanted that support in it. And I really missed it when we were going to go in a different direction, and to have that back was yeah, this is where I need to be. I need my women. I need to be supported and loved. And it felt really good to get back into that cocoon, so to speak.
And could you describe what, I believe that everyone, especially when you're a business leader, is being able to pause and take the time to think and dream. And that's something that we've done on our quarterly offsites and our retreat experiences. And I would love to you to share what your experience has been like being able to step away from your business and what your experience has been like inside the retreats with me.
Oh, the retreats are my favorite. One, as a mother, you don't always get to be away from everybody. And so it's such a treat to just be in a hotel room by yourself or with another like-minded, amazing woman. So it just feels so good to get away. And sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees when you're so in your business. And so to have them a chance to get away for a day or two is so rewarding. And it also, we went to such beautiful places. And when it was in San Francisco, that was such a great getaway, just to be in a different city. And then I think it was 2 visits to Multiversity. And it's just such a beautiful surrounding. And not only are you getting the like nitty gritty of all the curriculum you're teaching us during the day, but then you get these break off opportunities to eat with your friends and stay out late and, go in the jacuzzi or do whatever it is with these women and really connect and bond. And it's just such a great getaway, especially with how busy life can be. And it really was, those retreats are my favorite.
And I know that for you running the type of business that you run, I think every retreat, every workshop that was like, you had like a celebrity birthday party, there were like big things happening like the day before or the day after. And I just was like, oh my goodness. But like, I just remember like the space and how you could just unravel even with all the fullness of things that were happening right before or right after. And just that importance of taking that space to just exhale.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but somehow the retreats always seem to happen when they were like our busiest times at the studio, where we had like 8 parties happening at once, and they were for really important clients and just like all these things happening. And it's a good reminder that life goes on without you. And if you surround yourself with like a really supportive team and can delegate, like they rose like champions. And it was great evidence to me that, I hired a great team and they're very capable, and like I can breathe a little easier than maybe I do on a regular basis.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who knows they need to get away, but they're gripping, holding on, feeling like they can't leave, or my family needs me? And I know we've had many occasions where there were certain people who are like, I can't make it. And then somehow they like shift and make it happen. What would you say to someone who's kind of wearing many hats, juggling all the plates, having to be there for their family, having to be there for their business? How would you like get them to step away?
I would tell them that like the real work is at those retreats and getting away. Like that is, if you're someone who just like thinks you need to work, like it is work when you go, but in like with a whole different energy, and it's so much bigger. And those are when like the really big learnings happen, and when your heart opens and when expansion happens. And sometimes it's just so hard to see that when you're so in it and your grip is so tight. And allow yourself to let go and give yourself a break, because it's not just the break that you think it is. It's so much bigger than that.
Thank you for sharing that. So I want more people to know about the work that you are doing in the world. And I'm curious, what project are you working on for Meri Cherry that has you the most excited right now?
Well, you caught me in like a very transitional place. We did just finish, like I was saying before, the Studio Masterclass, and that will be a digital product that will be available. We videotape the whole event, and so that will be something that's available that I'm really excited to be able to share with people all over the world who are interested in, forwarding their art entrepreneurial journey, whatever that looks like. I think it's packed with really good information. So I'm excited about that. And I'm just excited really to take a break this quarter and just like be in the studio and continue to make it run like this fine-tuned or well-oiled machine, and just like rest. Can rest be something that you're really excited about?
Yes, it's part of the S is sustain. So yes, of course. I mean, you wrote and released a published book this year, and then had sold out summer camps. And I know you've grown in birthday parties as well, of like how many birthdays that you take on for the Meri Cherry Art Studio. So you have done so much. You deserve a rest. You deserve paella nights with your daughters. You deserve artist dates and all of that, because I think that's a huge part, that when we are big visionaries, we need that space to reset and rest, and to build that team, that dream team, and that vision that people can do that while you get to have those moments of replenishing.
Yeah, thank you. So that's what September through December. I know, like, I have a million things that I'll do, of course, but I also just want to exercise and take care of my family and take some extra naps and watch some shows and do all those things a little bit too. That sounds really good.
Yes. And my daughter and I, we just started binge watching Once Upon a Time on Netflix. And we watched like 2 episodes.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's Elsa just popped up in the mix. It's all like fairy tale based. There's Wizard of Oz, Snow White, Ariel, like everyone. It's like drama, and we're so into it. We're about to start season 4. We've been moving through it this summer, so that's also a fun way to connect if you want to catch up on some type of. Yeah, it might not be that might be later on in life. I actually wouldn't do it for the age that your daughters are, but just finding something that you can get into, like a cooking show or different things like that.
I was just going to say my favorite show is Working Moms. So I just want to watch Working Moms. It's a Canadian show about women moms I can actually relate to, and it's so good on Netflix.
Oh, I love that so much. So I'd love to know, what is your why right now and as you're moving into this season of rest, but like, I know you're a big dreamer and a big vision. So what is that vision that you are moving towards?
My why, my vision is really to listen, to take this time to see what our next growth steps are, and to like keep talking to my husband and checking in with myself. And we've been really fortunate to be approached by some different possibilities recently. And I'm just like going to allow the next stage of growth to present itself to us as opposed to like grinding to find it. So I'm just like really open to the next stage just sort of presenting itself to us.
I love that. I think that's such a way to lead with love, is allowing and surrendering and trusting the process, trusting the timing, and trusting yourself. And you are so amazing at just serving and showing up and creating in the world. So I am so thankful to know you, Meri. And is there any
Thank you, Jada.
last words that you want to share before we say goodbye?
Just thank you. Thank you for all the things that you've taught me and helped me be a part of in Love Over Metrics and on your podcast. And I'm so grateful to know you, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to share about Meri Cherry and Process-Art and just be a part of this journey with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I love you, Meri.
I love you. Bye.
Thank you so much for your heart and attention and listening to Lead with Love. You can always get the links and resources mentioned in each episode over at leadwithlovepodcast.com so that you can build a sustainable business and live a creative life on your terms. If this message, Leading with Love, resonates with you and you want to take a stand for remembering that there are humans with beating hearts behind the numbers, I would love for you to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave an honest review. It would mean the world to me, and it also helps more people spread more love in the world, which we really, really need. I also love hearing from you. So as you're listening, take a screenshot, share your favorite takeaway, and tag me on Instagram and Facebook at Jada Selner. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.